Hello and welcome to ART1A. This is Lecture 6, Ancient Near East and Mesopotamia. And I'm Trish Triumpho Sullivan. I am going to be your guide for our little tour here today. And we're going to look up our Ancient Near East and Mesopotamia. So let's get right started here. So these are some of the major works in art history that we're talking about today. Whoops, shoot, messed up on that one. Here we go. See if we can get back in the right space there. There we go. Okay, so it looks almost right there. So we're all set now. So here we are with the ancient Near East and Mesopotamia, and we're going to go through some of the major artworks today. So let's talk about Mesopotamia. Basically, the meaning is that it's the land between two rivers in ancient Greek. Those two rivers are the Tigris and the Euphrates. The present-day countries of Iraq and parts of Iran, Turkey, Syria, and Kuwait occupy the area of Mesopotamia. You can see on the map there. Upper Mesopotamia, it's shown in red, is made up of hills and plains. The land is very fertile due to seasonal rains and the rivers and streams that come from the mountains. Lower Mesopotamia is made up of marshy areas and wide, flat plains. During the Neolithic Revolution, cities developed along the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. Neolithic Revolution. Mesopotamia is the site of the earliest developments of the Neolithic Revolution from around 10,000 BCE. The Neolithic Revolution is the transition of many human cultures from a lifestyle of hunting and gathering to one of agriculture and settlement, making an increasingly large population possible. The Cradle of Civilization. So Mesopotamia is often considered the cradle of civilization, as it was the site of some of the most important developments in human history, including the invention of the wheel, the planting of the first cereal crops, and the development of writing, mathematics, and astronomy. The study of artistic innovations and conventions developed in the ancient Near East and Mesopotamia lets us understand the artistic traditions that evolve later in time. Let me just straighten this out a little bit. It seems like it's kind of come under, there we go, almost. Okay, perfect. So, the study of artistic innovations and conventions developed in the ancient Near East and Mesopotamia lets us understand the artistic traditions that evolved later in time. Religion plays a significant role in the art and architecture of the ancient Near East, with cosmology guiding representation of deities and kings who prescribed themselves with divine attributes. Artistic traditions focused on representing royal figures and gods, as well as the function of funeral traditions. The White Temple and the Ziggurat. Uruk, modern Warqa, Iraq. The culture is Sumerian, and the date is 3500 to 3000 BCE, and materials are mud brick. Uruk was one of the earliest cities in the world. By 3200 BCE, it grew to have a population of over 40,500 people. The White Temple and the Ziggurat were built in a colossal scale of mud brick in the center of the ancient city. These structures were dedicated to the sky god Anu and had votive figures. Only royals and clergy could enter the top temple. So ziggurats are massive structures built in ancient Mesopotamian societies from approximately 2200 until 500 BCE. Ziggurats were used for religious, ceremonial, and perhaps political purposes. They had sloping sides and terraces that often had planted trees and shrubs. The Standard of Ur. This is located in Ur, modern day Iraq, 2600 to 2400 BCE. The culture is Sumerian, and it's wood inlaid with shell, lapis lazuli, and black limestone. This object was found in one of the largest graves in the royal cemetery at Ur. The main panels are known as War and Peace. The War panel shows one of the earliest depictions of a Sumerian army. The Peace panel depicts animals, fish, and other goods brought in procession to the banquet. Seated figures wearing wooden fleeces or fringed skirts drink to the accompaniment of a musician playing a lyre, or a lyre, a type of musical instrument. The original function of the standard is not yet understood. It was originally thought to have been carried on a pole as a standard, but other theories suggest it was part of a musical instrument. So we don't, the basic thing is we don't know. So a stele is a vertical stone monument or marker, often inscribed with text or with relief carving. Kind of like what a tombstone looks like, right? But probably a little bit larger. So the stele, that's what they're called. So this is the code of Hammurabi Steli. And this is from Babylon. It was discovered in Susa, Iran. It's Babylonian, and it dates from 1792 to 1750 BCE. And the materials are basalt, which is a very hard rock. The Hammurabi Code of Law is a collection of 282 rules inscribed on a basalt stele over 7 feet tall, established laws for trade, crime, and other aspects of society. In this stele, Hammurabi receives the laws from Shamash, the sun god. Shamash is the dominant figure. He is seated on his throne. He wears an elaborate crown and holds a ring and a staff. Hammurabi still conveys powerful authority by interacting with Shamash himself. This is the statues of votive figures. It's the square temple at Esnuna. That's modern Tel Asmar, Iraq. It's Sumerian, 2500 BCE, and it's gypsum inlaid with shell and black limestone. These are two examples of votive statues found beneath the floor of a Sumerian temple, the square temple of Eshuna. The statues of votive figures are of different heights, denoting hierarchy of scale. The tallest and largest votive figures held highest importance. Votive figures represent mortals placed in a temple and praying, possibly to the god Abu, and stood continually in prayer, attentive to God in place of people of elite class. Inscribed in the back as is, it offers prayers. The male figure has a bare upper chest, is wearing a skirt from the waist down, has a flowing beard in rippling patterns, and wears a belt. The female figure is shown with a dress draped over one shoulder. Priest figures were also found at the site and were represented with female robes. Lamassu from the citadel of Sargon II. This is from Iraq. So it's Neo-Assyrian from 720 to 705 BCE, and the material is alabaster, which is a type of stone. The Lamassu are colossal-sized wing, human-headed bull statues with 5 legs. The face of the Lamassu has wavy hair, connected eyebrows, earrings, and an elaborate beard. The wings form a decorative panel which show power and prestige. The lamassu were designed to be viewed from the front and side, and the perspective of the statue differs depending on the viewing angle. Assyrians and Neo-Assyrians often placed prominent pairs of lasso at city gates and citadel entrances. These statues were designed as guardian figures and to convey power and intimidate those who saw them. At least 7 lamassu were featured at the citadel of Sargon II at Dur Sarukin, showing the power of the king. Audience Hall of Darius and Xerxes. This is Persepolis, Iran, 520 to 465 BCE. It's a Persian culture, and it's made of limestone. Persia was the largest empire the world had seen up to this time. Construction on the audience hall of Darius and Xerxes, sometimes referred to as Apenada, was started by Darius I in Persepolis, the Persian capital, and finished by Xerxes. So the audience hall symbolized the great power of the Persian Empire and is notable today as an example of Persian architecture and art. At its time, the audience hall was used for royal and ceremonial purposes and was the center of Persepolis. The audience hall featured 72 columns, each 24 meters tall. It's pretty tall and extremely elaborate. The column capitals were carved animals, including bulls, eagles, and lions, which were symbols of royalty in Persia. The walls of the audience hall were carved with illustrations of hundreds of figures bringing offerings to the king from all the states conquered by the Persian Empire. Art historians consider this to be a sign of the relative tolerance of the Persian Empire for the time period. So that's it for the lecture number 6, which is Ancient Near East and Mesopotamia. And we'll see you on the next lecture.